Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. We got a great lineup today. Bryan Leonard, Ronald, Cabang, Andrew McInnis. We're talking baseball, NBA, and NHL. I'm Lawrence Presman. My co-host is Teddy Covers. Let's get to it. Bryan, gotta sneeze. Oh, I've been sneezing for a week straight. Welcome, my friend.
That's
Welcome
a good look
to the
for you.
show.
Thank you.
It happens.
Maybe
It happens. What do you want from me, man? A sneeze is a sneeze. I can't control the damn thing.
maybe you got the same thing as your hockey team does, and you're just allergic to giving up goals.
Allergic to giving up goals. I think the Leafs are not allergic to giving up goals. They gave up 5. They seem to be allergic to scoring goals. They haven't scored more than 2 goals in 8 straight playoff games. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that. Let's get into it. Detroit Tigers, they're playing Tampa Bay, minus 120. How are we betting this game?
Lots of ways to play this one. We've got 2 starters that have looked really good thus far. They face off in this one. Tarek Skubal's picked up where he left off last year in his breakout season. In fact, I just read an article regarding started pitchers in dynasty leagues in fantasy baseball, and they have Derek Skubal as the number 1 starting pitcher for the next 5 years. They really like his future in Major League Baseball. If he could stay healthy, this is the guy that can win you some championships. But his average exit velocity allowed this year is 4.2 miles per hour lower than a year ago, and he was really good last year. His hard hit rate allowed is only 26.7%. That's over 14% better than league average. The bullpen's fresh. No relievers pitched more than once in the last 3 games. I like this Detroit team going into this game. Got to figure out how to play it. Zach Littell came out of nowhere last year to give the Rays 90 very good innings. His xERA the last 4 years is less than 4. This is a guy who has stayed under the radar, and he's usually somebody I'm looking to bet on. But the closer, Pete Fairbanks, is on the IL. But the Rays always have a strong bullpen. Neither team is really not to cover off the ball this season, so we expect a low-scoring affair, which is why this game is lined to 7.5. And as I mentioned on my lead-in, we can see many ways to play this one. You can play the Tigers first 5 under, Tigers full game, Tampa Bay team total under. I wouldn't have any problem with any of those. But we've seen enough out of this Detroit bullpen to trust them to stay even with the Rays relievers. So I'm going to play Detroit in the full game, and it's not often you get an elite starter in this price range. So give me Detroit over Tampa Bay. But as I said, I could see a few different ways to play this one.
So you talked about liking Littell and how well that he's pitched for Tampa, and then you talked about Detroit first 5 and Detroit full game. If there's no starting pitching edge or no significant starting pitching edge for Detroit, what other edges do they have in this game?
I think they do have a starting pitcher edge. As I mentioned, we've got what everybody considers as a top 5 starting pitcher in Major League Baseball going against a guy who's been good. I mean, no doubt about it. If you can get an ERA in the American League under 4, you're doing a pretty good job. Tampa Bay has always been able to find these guys and bring them into the lineup. He had like a 5-run ERA going into the last 4 or 5 years, so he's really worked out well in Tampa. And like I said, I like the under also. So I don't expect Detroit to score a lot of runs. Maybe they score 4 and win this game 4-2. That's something that I'm looking at and possibly feeling that's the best way to play this one. But you're right. Tampa Bay is not a team that I like to go against their pitching very often because they're just so good at developing pitchers. But if I can get, like I said, one of the best pitchers in baseball here with a bullpen who's pitching really well, if I can get them in this price range, I'm on it.
Let's shift out to the West Coast and talk some West Coast MLB for tonight. How about the Orioles and the Angels? Looking to WagerTalk live on screen right now. This is basically a pick'em game. There's some 9s out there. Total mostly 8.5, juice to the over minus 120, but you can find 9 under a minus 120. Baltimore is a team we didn't see betting market respect for them 2 years ago when they were hot. We didn't see betting market respect for them last year when they were a dominant team. And we haven't seen a whole lot of betting market respect for the Orioles yet this season, as fully evidenced by this price today. Baltimore 14-7, basically pick them against LA. What do you think, Orioles and Angels?
I'm glad you mentioned that with the line, because that's something, the first thing I looked at, I said, the line seems a bit low, but it's there for a reason. And they will be facing a lefty tonight, which means the 4 bench bats will likely start the game. But unlike a lot of teams, the bench players are well established. James McCann, Ramon Urias, Jorge Mateo, Austin Hayes have all started for a good portion of their MLB careers. They also played on Saturday, so it's not like they are coming in cold here. So you've got, when you're taking a look at your bench guys, Baltimore has got some of the best bench players in Major League Baseball. They don't hit lefties as well, which is why they've got these guys coming in. But this is still a very deep offense, and they'll score some runs here against the Angels. Starter Albert Suarez hasn't pitched in the majors since 2017, until this past week where he looked excellent in 5.2 innings. And because of his age at 34, the Orioles know he doesn't have any options left. So they must really see something in him to be able to bring him up and let him start here. I know they've got some guys coming back from injury, but that shows that they see something in Suarez. And this is a guy who's been a journeyman for his entire career. So we've got a situation here with both Kimbrel and Cano, the back two relievers for Baltimore, are fresh and ready to go in the back of this bullpen. So we like the Baltimore pitching staff here. The Angels return home without rest after finishing off a long road trip in Boston, Tampa Bay, and Cincinnati. Starter Reed Detmers has been fantastic thus far, but he's gone on these types of runs in the past, and he's never been able to sustain it. He's a guy that shows glimpses and comes back and, get blown out the next day. So he's pitched very well so far, and he has faced Baltimore earlier, and he only gave up 1 run in over 5 innings of work to start off against Baltimore, his first start of the season. So I like the situation here. I think there's some negative regression coming for the Angels starter, and I like the Baltimore team with those bench guys. And the bullpen for the Angels haven't been used much in the past 5 days. So normally it's a good thing if they've had the last couple of days off, but if you've had most of your bullpen with 5 days off, that's a situation right there where a little rust could be involved there. But offensively, Baltimore has a 33 WRC plus advantage in this game. They're the better hitting team, and they rank second in baseball, 28% better than league average in WRC plus. So you got a good hitting Baltimore team. I like what they're seeing out of this pitcher. I'll take Baltimore in this situation. Like, as you mentioned, a near pickup situation that was a plus money underdog all night long.
So, Brian, as was flashing during your talk, we do have a last day today of a great offer from WagerTalk.com. Buy 7-day all access, get 3 days for free. It's a $69 value. So you get 10 days of picks for the cost of $7, less than $10 per day for the handicapper of your choice. That includes all 5% best bets and everything else. Just visit the capper of your choice at WagerTalk.com to take advantage of that special offer. Again, that expires at midnight tonight. So if you're going to use it, you better use it today. Bri, what are the markets seeing? We talk about Baltimore as a team that's been devalued the markets. The Angels are 3-9 in their last 12 games. All right. They're a losing team. Everyone expects them to be a losing team. The offense isn't hitting. Everyone but Trout can't hit. And the markets opened them favorites here. It was like, this line was legit head scratcher for me. What are the markets seeing for LA that they opened them favorites? And they're still favorites right now, given Baltimore's success. I'm baffled by the market support for LA, and I'm wondering if you have a take, because I don't know what they're seeing.
Yeah, well, the Angels have their middle of the lineup guys, 2, 3, and 4. They've all been hot. They got the Gusano from the Twins. I thought he was out of baseball. He lost about 60 pounds, 40 to 60 pounds. They found him off the trash heap. He's playing very well. The right fielder's been excellent all season long for the Angels. So they have some hitters. The problem is all their hitters are in the upper area of their lineup. The back of the lineup's really bad, and that's where you can take advantage of.
Bryan Leonard joining us, everyone. Sorry I had to duck out. I'm having a crisis already today, Teddy. I got to get a whole lot of money into a bank account for my mortgage for my chalet that I bought in Whistler. I got to get it in now. It's not going to make it. I had to call the rich brother. He called me back in the middle of the show. I'm like, yo, rich brother, you're going to have to spot me $2 million for 10 days. And he said yes.
Is he adopting anybody? I'd like to have a rich brother like that.
Brian, listen, there's pros and cons, dude. Like, listen, there's more pros as far as how it affects your life, without question. But there are cons about how it affects your emotional state, because when you're around so much money and you can see it and smell it and sniff it, but it's not yours, it does drive you a little bit bonkers. So, there's pros and cons to the whole thing. Look, I'd rather have him in my life than not have him in my life. But I feel like you have me in your life, Bri.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've got a proposition for you. I have lost one hockey game in the playoffs so far. That was on when I bet the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 1. I have said this on the Ice Show all year long. I was really good with Toronto games early in the season, but the second half of the season, I probably lost 7 straight games. This is what I'm going to do for you. Send me $10,000 to bet on the Boston Bruins. I will split the profit with you, and that way you can guarantee yourself that Toronto wins Game 2. How's that sound?
I can bet it myself. And why are we splitting the profits?
Because you have to have me to bet it in order to guarantee that win.
Right. Got it. Okay. In all seriousness, if it was the difference between $5,000 and the Leafs winning, I'll take the $5,000. I'm done, man. Screw the stinking Leafs. Anyway, have you promoted?
I have not.
Well, go for it.
I've got the 2 baseball games that we spoke about today. I've got an NHL playoff game. I've got a free play in the NBA on the website. And you can get everything on today's card at a discounted price. So you get everything we release, and it's all there today. And as Teddy mentioned, this is the last day to get that special. So if you're looking to get an extra 3 days, I believe it was 10 days for the price of 7, you may want to do that not only for myself, but for your gentleman here as well.
There you go, Bryan Leonard. Thanks for joining us, my brother. So, Teddy, before we get into what did bettors learn, I shat the bed this weekend. Man, when I roll, I roll. I win 7 straight days. I go on like 16-4 runs. When I shit the bed, it's full on freaking diarrhea, bro. I went 2-8 over the weekend. But I've gone 1-9 and 2-8 3 times in the last 2 months. And I've bounced back magnificently every single time. So I'm just going to chalk it up to a bad couple of days, part of the roller coaster, and move on. As I told everybody on Friday, Teddy and I are going to be selling combined packages on a daily basis. Right now, Teddy has 2 NBA bets for tonight. I have 3 NHL bets, which is very rare for me. I never have 3. What, you don't have 2?
No, I have 1.
Well, then I screwed up that package. Either way, we have a combined package up for Teddy and I. I will go fix it, but you can go over to my page or Teddy's page and get my 3 NHL and his 1 NBA for today. Teddy, what did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Lawrence, I didn't have a great weekend either, although I didn't quite shit the bed as poorly as you did. Nonetheless, the client's not pleased with me today any more than they're pleased with you because they didn't win for them over the weekend. And inevitably, when you go 58-28, you're going to have a little bit of a pullback. But the goal is to go from red hot to okay, not red hot to ice cold. Let's see if we can keep hot a little bit longer. I'm not convinced that my winning streak is over just yet. Let's talk a little NBA playoffs. What happened this past week? A little recap. And, of course, the home teams go 8-0 in Game 1s for the first time since 2013, so more than a decade since that happened. That did include a pair of home underdogs who cashed yesterday. Start with the first game in the game order. Orlando, Cleveland. Look, the Magic laid bricks all game. The Cavs never trailed. Donovan Mitchell healthy. Last 3 games, he scored 29+ each of those contests. And normally you see the betting markets zig and zag. Not with Donovan Mitchell looking healthy. Cleveland, a bigger favorite for Game 2 than they were for Game 1. Minnesota's perimeter defense really contained the Sun shooters. Anthony Edwards went nuts. Minnesota won by 25. Markets did not make a huge adjustment to that series price. They're expecting a Phoenix bounce back in game 2. Philly and the Knicks. The Sixers played great down the stretch. They probably should have won the game or at least covered the point spread. But the Knicks, I'll give them credit. They literally didn't miss a shot down the stretch. Josh Hart, multiple contested threes. Mitchell Robinson, the 41% free throw shooter, hits them both. The Knicks -5 win by 7. Big concern for Philly moving forward. Embiid did not look right in that game, and it looked like it got worse as the game progressed. Denver, the Lakers on Saturday. Look, they played the same game the last 3 years. Lakers take a lead. Denver rallies back to win by margin. LA, once again, a very difficult time offensively against Denver's defense in crunch time. That's been a recurring theme for the Lakers against the Nuggets. Still home favorites 4-0 straight up on Saturday. 4-0 ATS. Unders 2-1-1 or 2-2, depending on where you got Suns T-Wolves, which cashed against the closing number, pushed against the opener. On Sunday, Boston blew out Miami. I mean, the Heat looked exhausted. No Jimmy Butler. Stayed under by a point or two. That was a sweat. That game actually was a sweat down the stretch, regardless of side or total. Pacers, the worst shooting game of the entire season against Milwaukee yesterday, and Dame went nuts in the first half. And normally, I don't mind when one guy goes off first half, when a star goes off, because the rest of the teammates don't get involved, but Indiana stayed ice cold. Halliburton didn't look right in that game either. That's something worth monitoring. He, down the stretch, was not 100%. Dallas was a complete no-show against the Clips. Kyrie didn't show up at all. No Kawhi, no problem. Clippers defense, elite in that ballgame. You've seen the total get adjusted for game 2. And OKC, the last game last night, a real battle with New Orleans. Thunder came out on top, but Pelicans got the money. Really a clear right side, under a clear right side in that ballgame as well. The markets have adjusted on to game 2s starting tonight. Lawrence?
There we go, Teddy covers. Let's get the show moving. Ronald Cabang joining us, some NBA chat. How are you, Ronald? You need your volume, Ronald. Unmute. Nope.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Sorry about that, guys.
No worries,
I
brother.
didn't have a great Sunday either, but looking to bounce back today. But overall, the NBA has been really good this season, so I'm not too worried about the bounce back here.
Yeah, dude, it's one day. I mean, like,
yeah,
find me any better, any handicap or any pro that wins on a daily basis. Ronald, Magics and Cavs, you like the under? Talk to me.
Yeah, I do like the under here. Obviously, the Cavs really took that first game there, 97-83, super low scoring. The Magic, they really struggled at every level on the offensive side of the ball. If you look at them overall, 33% from the field, 22% from three, even at the free throw line, 63%. They're I mean, obviously on the season, they're probably bottom 5 in free throw percentage. So even if they bounce back a little bit there from a percentage standpoint, they're still looking pretty slim on the offensive side of the ball against this Cavs defense. Banchero had 9 turnovers out of the 12 that the Magic had in that first game. I do think that he fixes that problem, but as a team, they were actually towards the bottom of the league in taking care of the ball on the season. So those turnovers might just go to some other players here. The Magic offense, I do, like I said, I think they might bounce back a little bit, but because they're so inconsistent from 3 and from the free throw line, I just don't know if they're going to do enough to get up and over their team total for the most part. And if you look at the Cavs side, I mean, they need to fix their turnover problem, but they did dominate in the paint. I think they can continue to do that against the Magic here. But again, I think the pace of play is going to be huge here. I also think that both teams not hitting both teams are in the bottom 10 in free throw percentage as well. The reason why I like this under too, if you look at historical stats, 4 or 5 seeds in the first round historically have been under games just because they're so tightly matched. If you go back to the 2015 playoffs, if you blindly take the under in every 4 versus 5 game, you'd be 62, 29, and 3 to the under. That's a 68.1% hit rate to the under. And like I said, I really think it's because they're so tightly matched here at the 4 and 5 seed. So the under is the way that I took it.
So we certainly saw a pretty ugly offensive game in the opener of this series. But 2 teams combined for 16 of 67 from 3-point range, and the game wasn't played with any pace whatsoever. Do you think, are you worried at all that A, the 3-point shooting is better tonight, B, the free throw shooting is better tonight, or C, they play with a little bit more pace, particularly Orlando, who really struggled in all different ways against the Cavs' half-court defense? Wouldn't you think the adjustment the Magic would make would be to try to push and transition a little bit more? So talk to me about those factors.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can kind of talk about how like the Knicks did it, right? The Knicks were able to kind of push the pace against Philly and limit the half court defense. The Cavs can or the Magic can try to do that, but at the same time, these bigs for the Cavs, they're really more the athletic guys in the league, athletic bigs in the league who can get down the court pretty quickly. So even in that case, this defense just really matches up well against the Magic. And if the Magic are not able to hit the three, and like I said, they're one of the I think more inconsistent 3-point shooting teams in the league. Obviously, they looked a little bit better towards the end of the regular season, but I don't think they had really tough matchups either. So they took advantage of it. They were able to hit the threes towards the end of the season, but now they're facing an elite defense who looked like they struggled towards the end of the season. But now you can see that they're kind of, like you said about Donovan Mitchell, he's healthy. The team has some momentum on their side. And to me, I think the defensive matchup really is on the Cavs side here, and the pace of play. I don't think the Magic will be able to push because of how quickly the Magic can get back with these bigs with Allen and Mobley.
Ronald Cabang joining us, everyone. Ronald, let's look at New York and Philadelphia. Both Maxey and Embiid questionable for tonight. Reflected in the line, it is -5 for the New York Knicks. Some 5.5s out there. Where are we going?
Yeah, this one, I'm actually going back with the Knicks here. I think the difference in game one was the bench. Right? The Knicks bench outscored the Sixers bench 42-7. That was really huge there. And then you bring up, the fact that Embiid didn't look good. Maxey didn't participate in shoot around. I do think that they both probably will play. But for the most part, I mean, it seems like they're not going to be 100%. Yeah, you can easily see, like I said, Embiid looked like he was playing hurt. If that's the case, the New York should be able to win the rebounding battle once again. The Knicks, they took the offensive rebounding battle 23-9, led to a +20 difference in the second chance points for the Knicks. And like I mentioned earlier, what the Knicks did really well was push the ball, get on the fast break, and didn't allow the Sixers to set that defense up with Embiid back there. Obviously, they're going to take advantage of Sixers Embiid's legs. For the Sixers to win this game, they're really going to need the bench to step up. I do think that the Knicks bench is going to come back down to earth a little bit, but also I think Brunson's going to have a better shooting night, and I think DiVincenzo might have a better shooting night as well. So that should balance out on the Knicks side. From a trend perspective, if we look at round one since 2014, if the home favorite in game 2 of the series won and covered game 1 of the series as a home favorite, those teams typically cover at a high rate, 65.7% since 2014. If you include that the line has shifted more, and the reason why this is kind of iffy is just because the line could be shifted because of injury news or anything like that with the Philly side. But if it shifts more towards the favorite in game 2, 19-4 straight up, 17-6 against the spread. That's a cover rate of 74% since 2014 in that case. So a lot of things really pointing towards the Knicks side to really take advantage of this unhealthy Sixers squad.
So I mean, Philly was a +14 in Embiid's minutes the other day, but you talked about the bench disparity. Knicks bench scored 42, 8 of 13 from 3-point range. Philly's bench scored 7. And that was the difference in the game. That and Josh Hart hitting unbelievable contested threes in the final minute, and Mitchell Robinson draining a pair of free throws to get the Knicks over the cover, over the number. But when we look at the huge bench advantage that the Knicks had in game 1, is that something you expect to see continue moving going forward? Because you talked about -5, the 5.5s. The 5s are all gone. The 5.5s, it's a split line right now. I'm seeing mostly 6s on the WagerTalk Live odds screen. And when you're talking about a bench disparity like that in game 1, are you Here's my follow-up. Do the Knicks have a legit bench edge over Philly, or is that a little bit random for the first game?
I think it's definitely going to balance out a little bit more. But I think the line has shifted, in my opinion, because of the news that Maxey did not go through shoot around. And I think he's going to play, and that line might come back. So if you haven't played the -5 or whatever it is, I think that might be available later on if he gets announced in. I mean, you guys got to monitor that on your own, but that's my opinion and take on what might happen. But like what you're mentioning about the bench, I do think it balances out a little bit, but I also think that the starters for the Knicks will play a little bit better. Brunson shot terribly in game 1. DiVincenzo only had 8 points as well. I think both of those guys might have huge game 2s here, in my opinion. And I think if they continue to take advantage of, and I know you mentioned Embiid with the +14, right? But there's times and situations where they're going to be able to take advantage of Embiid not being able to get back, right? Because they did have that fast break advantage. I think they scored like 20, almost 30 points in the fast break compared to like 10 or whatever it was for the Sixers. So if they can continue to do that, take advantage of the transition, then the Knicks should be able to cover this 5 or 6, whatever it is right now.
Oh my God, Teddy. What a morning, man. What a morning. Okay, so my distraction is over and done with. I'm now focused and in tune. Ronald Cabang, what do you got
on the note?
Oh, shut up, Teddy. I don't need your crap today.
Yeah, looking to bounce back in the NBA today. I got 3 NBA plays, and I also have 3 MLB. MLB has been pretty solid this season as well. So hopefully, we get on the right track today. Yesterday, my only win was in the MLB. So hopefully we keep going there.
There we go. Ronald Cabang, everyone. Teddy, I think it's a good show. I don't know, though. I'm going to have to listen to it when it's up to decide. It's time for your big game breakdown. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Big game breakdown for Monday. And look, let me be perfectly honest. I really try hard not to bet on the worst teams in baseball. But this line for the Rockies today, it just stands out like a sore thumb. I can't leave it alone. It's hard to make money betting on bad baseball teams. They're all going to be money losers at the end of the year. But this line's out of whack. Let's talk about the Rockies and the Padres. The 12-12, 500 Padres, who are lines come down. It was -180. Now we're looking at -170 for San Diego. The sharp money's seeing what I'm seeing. But look, Gomber has allowed 2, 2, and 3 runs in his 3 starts this season. His last outing versus the Padres last year, 6 innings, 2 runs. The Rockies won. In fact, he had quality starts twice in 3 tries versus San Diego last year. One awful start that skews all the stats. But 2 or 3 starts were solid against the Padres. Real solid. Quality starts. San Diego hasn't hit lefties well. The number 24 in MLB, a .214 batting average against southpaws. All right. It's a 500 Padres team. They're not great. All right. It's been freezing in Colorado all weekend. Rain, snow, the works. They scored only 4 runs, the Rockies did, in 3 games against Seattle. Tonight, well, guess what? The front came through. Game time temperatures in the upper 60s. It's going to be a nice evening. Bud Black, this is a bet on quote for a bottom feeder team. Quote, as tough as it's been for these first 21 games, there's a pretty good resiliency to this group. For me, that's not surprising. They're not going to go, 5-16 over every 21 game span this season. Then we got the whole Dylan Cease factor. First season with the Padres, played for the White Sox. Let's see, he's had 2 career starts against the Rockies. Not pretty. His only previous start at Coors, he got bombed, didn't make it out of the 5th in that game. And again, the Padres are 12-12. They're sub 500 on the road. They're 1-3 the last 4 games. They only scored 9 runs during that span. They won yesterday. They're 4-7 off a win. Yeah, Rockies are live dogs here. Give me Colorado at the plus price against San Diego. And there's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. Andrew McInnis joining us. We got some hockey to discuss. He's got a 5% play up tonight. AM, how are you enjoying the playoffs so far?
I'm loving it. It's awesome. The fact that every single day there's just great games you're looking forward to. It's great. And very similar to NBA, all the home teams having success so far.
That did not happen last year, but hey, we're only one game in. We'll see what happens. You like Tyler Bertuzzi tonight to get half a goal or more. Half a point or more. Yeah. Fill us in.
So, guys, a lot of teams that struggle to get over the hump, or they get to the playoffs, they're around for a round or two and they get knocked out. It's because they're a different team in the regular season versus the playoffs. So what did the Maple Leafs do last summer to make changes? Well, they needed to get tougher, needed to get bigger, needed to get some guys that are able to score goals, make plays in the dirty areas. They get Max Domi, they get Tyler Bertuzzi, they got all kinds of defensemen that are tougher. They have Simone Benoit. They got tougher. They got a little bit more physical. They got a little scarier. And I felt like in game one, they tried to kind of, show Boston a little bit too much how scary they can be instead of sticking to their own game. But Tyler Bertuzzi, that is his game. His game is being a sandpaper guy, scoring goals right next to the net, getting assists in big, crucial moments. He's out there with the top players. He's out there with one of the guys that scored, or the guy that scored 69 goals during the regular season, Austin Matthews. He gets time with him. He gets time with Mitch Marner. This is the guy that you want your money on tonight because he's going to be the difference maker, I believe, him and Max Domi. Of course, you look at it and you have Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, the highly paid guys. But especially if William Nylander, who's out, who missed game one, and he's questionable for game two, especially if he does not play, you need to rely on some other guys and guys that can make different plays. And what I like about Bertuzzi is that he's not going to just only settle for the nicest play possible, which I find that sometimes the Leafs get themselves doing. They make that extra pass when they should just shoot. But for Bertuzzi, he knows how to make the right plays. He has playoff experience. He plays the right way you're supposed to play in the playoffs. And most importantly, guys, I'm getting plus money here. And to wrap it up, in game one, the expected goal numbers was over 7 for the Maple Leafs. I didn't see that in the entire regular season. They scored 1 goal in game one. Their expected goals were over 7, which means they ran into a hot goaltender. Things will change tonight.
So would you look at the full game over as well? I mean, as you're talking about Bertuzzi, it sounds to me like in my head, I'm hearing full game over, full game over, full game over. And what do we have? 6 NHL playoff games so far. 3 overs, 3 unders at the opener. The one got to 6, it down to 5.5. So if you bet it closer to what is it? Dropping the puck? What? It's not tip off. It's not kickoff. It's not first pitch. Drop the puck. Thank you. As you get closer to, if you bet it closer to dropping the puck, you were able to cash an under with that. But
puck
drop. Thank you. Do we lean over in this game? And are you surprised that the first round game ones didn't go over in mass or didn't go under in mass?
I'll answer the second question first, Teddy. I think that compared to what it used to be, I think that you see, I'm still overall looking for unders to start the series for the other ones, especially, and we'll get to one coming up here in a second. And then I think the goals come later on in the round. Whereas, many years ago, it used to be the opposite, right? Like you would see the goals start and then the series would get lower and lower scoring. But I'm a big believer in once these teams start to figure each other out more, you start to see more goals. You see more empty netters. You see more goalies pulled. But yes, I do like the over. And what's crazy, the game finished 5-1. But again, the expected goal numbers after game one were 7-3. They expected 10 goals based on all these simulations, analytics that they run. So I do think it's a bit shocking to get the 5.5, but it's 2 great goaltenders out there. But as far as I'm concerned, we'll get some goals tonight.
Andrew McInnis joining us, everyone. And guys, just to let you know, instead of doing a daily presidential address, I normally do a video after the show called the Penalty Box. We're going to do the Penalty Box segment live on air instead of the presidential address. We don't need 100 likes, but we would appreciate them. So please hit that like button and also subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Almost 150,000 subscribers. I think we're a few hundred away. So let's try get that today if you can. And I'm going to give out my opinion on the Leaf game during the penalty box segment and also on this LA Kings Edmonton game. Andrew McInnis, you like the under here, which really does make a lot of sense to me. I'll explain why later, but let's hear your reasons.
It's great, Prez, because I liked it at 5.5, and now I'm getting a 6, so it's even better. I got a better number. It's moved in a different direction than I thought it would here. But look, this is an example of what's been going on here for the last 5 or 6 years with the new format of the NHL. I guess it's not really new if it's been 5 or 6 years, but a lot of the same teams are facing each other every single season in round one. And with that familiarity for certain teams, especially like the LA Kings, well, you understand how the other teams perform. You know how to shut them down. The LA Kings, guys, they're going to play the most boring style of hockey they possibly can. If they're going to play a 1-3-1.
Yeah.
Basketball fans out there should know all about the 1-3-1. 2-3 zone, 3-2. Well, the 1-3-1. The LA Kings want to clog up the neutral zone, make things very difficult to enter their own zone, and shut down the top guys on the opposition. Now, some might say, yeah, it sounds a lot easier said than done. Well, it's certainly not easy, but what it does, it not only shuts down the Oilers' offense, it takes away from their own offense. They're so concerned about shutting down Edmonton and their opponents, they have so many guys back that they don't really have many players ready. The only way the LA Kings are going to score goals on the counterattack and on the power play. And the Edmonton Oilers, since they fired their coach about midway point of the NHL season, they have learned to play defensive hockey. They've got their goaltender playing well. They made some moves to pick up some good sandpaper players from the Anaheim Ducks who know how to play in physical games like this. And their goaltender, again, has played a lot better. So I respect them more as a defensive team. So although we see some flashy players, best player in the world, McDavid, we've got Draisaitl, Hyman, several players on the Kings as well. Don't be fooled by this matchup. I believe we see an under tonight. LA Kings, Edmonton Oilers.
Edmonton and LA under the total, says Andrew McInnis. Andrew, talk about your playoffs. Talk about what you have going for the clients at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, off a 4% winner yesterday, Teddy, with the Winnipeg Jets. Home team got the job done. And the story about that matchup was so weird. Everyone said they didn't have good goaltending, or the Colorado Avalanche didn't. 7-6. So crazy game there. But I've got player props tonight, but also a 5% play. You've got so many different options you can use. You can use the promo code AM20. AM20 will take $20 off a 3-day pass. Or, as you mentioned earlier on in the show, Teddy, it's the last day for that great deal. Get 10 days of all sports for the price of 7. So if you want 3 days, use AM20. If you want 10 days, get that special. Or if you want just the play, it's available right now, WagerTalk.com.
Andrew McInnis, killed it, brother. Good luck tonight on your 5% play. Teddy covers. It's time for the penalty box segment. Okay, everybody, this is the penalty box segment, and I've got 3 NHL bets to give out for you all. Let's start right off the bat with the Toronto Maple Leafs playing Boston. And yeah, look, I'm a homer, full disclosure, but we have seen this story play out for 5 straight series. The Leafs lose game 1, the sky falls, the media is in Toronto, loses its shit, the fans go bananas. There's a tornado and a hurricane and a tsunami that hits Toronto, and then they win game 2. And then everybody calms down until they lose game 7. But we worry about game 7 later. The bottom line is the Leafs played Tampa Bay last year. They won that series in 6 games. They lost the first game 7-3. The same thing happened the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. Nothing changes. This Leafs team is not going to roll over and die. They are a plus 116 dog. We are going to take the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight, and I do like over the total as well. Before we get into our next 2 games, I want to make mention that Teddy and I are going to be combining my NHL playoffs and his NBA playoffs all playoff long. Teddy tonight is 1 NBA bet. I have 3 NHL bets. You can get all 4 of those bets over at Wager Talk on either Teddy's page or my page. So please check that out. We're both having an outstanding run. I mean, Teddy's NBA season has been absolutely lights out. My NHL season, I'm up double-digit profits on a 13-4 run. So take advantage of that offer and look for it every single day. Let's turn our attention to Dallas and Vegas. First game of the series, and we're going to look to play the over in this game. Now, originally my thoughts was this is an under series, but now that I've really dug deep into it, Mark Stone looks like he's going to be back. Vegas is finally healthy, and Dallas at home has been a stone cold over all year long. 5.5 is the total in this game, and I'm looking at this game to go over that total. I think we're going to see a high-scoring game, but I do think we will see a low-scoring series, just not tonight. And as for Edmonton and the LA Kings, I like the under in this game. Andrew McInnis came on Wager Talk today, gave out the under, explained why, and I agree completely. Firstly, I don't think the LA Kings are going to get a ton of goals. They play a horribly boring 1-3-1 setup where they just basically say, get through us in the neutral zone, and it's not easy to do. With that said, it's also hard to score when you're playing a 1-3-1, and you're ultimately looking to score on counterattacks. Edmonton is a puck possession team. They do not turn the puck over in the neutral zone very often. They have a ton of speed. They should be able to slice through that 1-3-1. But both teams have played outstanding defense, especially of late. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 3-1, 4-1 type of a hockey game. Take under the total of, and it's now 6. Take under the total of 6 in that game. So to summarize, we're going to look at the Leafs plus 116. We're going to look at the over in the Leafs game. We're going to look at the over in the Dallas-Vegas game and the under in the Edmonton-LA Kings game. Teddy covers. Take us home.
Sure. That's going to wrap it for the Monday edition of Wager Talk Today. You got some MLB, you got some NBA, you got some NHL, you got some fun. And that's what we want to do each and every day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel. 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, enjoy the games and best of luck with your wagers.